Good day, beloved, and welcome again to Imago Spiritual Learning and Wellness. Um, as always, be still and know. I'm not always going to do that, but I don't know. I think it's kind of funny right now. It's kind of fun. Let me turn off, actually, I meant to do this before. Turn off my ringer. Wanted to, well, first off, again, welcome and blessings. And I, as always, a whole lot to share, but my goodness gracious, how do we settle on just one topic, right? Um, I guess whatever comes to the mind and heart, um, that that's important. Um, that is important, and so yeah, I just follow my intuition. There's never anything prepared when I do these videos, as you could probably guess. Um, and yeah, there's no preparation, no notes, no nothing. Um, I just hit the record button and flow. Okay. So, but today I wanted to read from. Remove my post-its here. I wanted to read an entry from this wonderful book I've had for years, 365 Tao, and it's just ways of by Deng Ming Dao, and it's daily meditations. Right? I don't know if you can see that, daily meditations, and um, all I all I'm just looking to share. It's every day there is a different. There's a haiku at the top, and then the theme of that particular day. It's 365 days a year, and then written out in Chinese calligraphy. There's a haiku that goes with it, and then the write-up, right? The entry for that day regarding whatever that theme is for the day. And so, wow, that got dark light. Oh yeah, because of this. Okay. So this is a wonderful resource I find for myself. Again, my in my personal individual path, I incorporate much from Christianity, from Buddhism, from Taoism. Um, I'm really also drawn to Hinduism, and um, I'm not as I'm not like really well read in any of these, but I take the most probably in Christianity, as far as like having read the Bible, reading of the teachings of Buddha, um, and then this little book here, this little resource, and there's another one that I have on a couple other books on Taoism, Sufism. Also, I'm drawn to. That's the mystic path within Islam. Um, the Sufis, I'm very drawn to their spirit. All this entails really for me, just taking elements from each and then incorporating them into my own mystic path, and the mystic path just simply being for me, to my mind, just seeking that through experience, seeking oneness with Creator. Right, that's it. And so it was pretty simple. Not I don't mess around with entities of any kind. I don't mess with angels or spirits or old ancestors or and there's nothing wrong with all that. It just, for whatever reason, my being just does not. It's not drawn to that. We have our own spirit, like my mentor Ben Danielle taught me, and that's what I consult with. That's the the Creator expresses in all, through all, as all, right? The Most High, the Most Within, um, and so that's what I consult with. And then I'll read various different kinds of scriptures, um, just because I enjoy doing it, and and enjoy the ideas, and also I also enjoy discovering the things that all these different paths have in common. Um, certain principles that shine through in the different scriptures, and that's pretty cool. So anyway, I'd like to share. This was just an old entry I had read some time back, and this is the theme of this particular day is practice, right? Practice, and so the haiku. Well, yeah. Um, some are more have more formal structure according to kind of standard haiku structure, but then it doesn't really hold to that. So, but I call it haiku anyway. All right, this one says, spiritual success is gained. I'm just reading the top portion here. Okay, first, spiritual success is gained by daily cultivation. If you practiced for the day, then you have won. If you were lazy for the day, then you have lost. Okay, and I'm just going to read this short entry here. Okay. Self-cultivation is the heart of spiritual attainment. Gaining insight and ability is not a matter of grand statements, dramatic initiations, or sporadic moments of enlightenment. Those things are only highlights in a life of consistent activity. Whatever system of spirituality you practice, do it every day. If it is prayer, then pray every day. If it is meditation, then meditate every day. If it is exercise, then exercise every day. Only then will you be able to say that you are truly practicing spirituality. This methodical approach is reassuring in several ways. First, it provides you with a process and the means to maintain progress, even if that particular day is not inspiring or significant. Just to practice is already good. Secondly, it gives you a certain faith. If you practice every day, it is inevitable that you will gain from it. Thirdly, constant practice gives you a certain satisfaction. How can you say to yourself that you have truly entered a spiritual path unless you can look back on years of daily practice and take comfort in the momentum that it has given you? And that concludes the reading. And I agree with that. I don't find anything to disagree with. One thing I will say is that where consistent practice and daily practice of whatever it is, as much as it has to offer us in the way of structure and consistency and just a path to follow, one brick at a time, as much as it has to offer in the way of those things, what I have found for myself in my life is that the practice does not give us power. We bring the power to the practice, whether it's prayer, meditation, whether it's whatever ritual that we choose to do. We bring the power to the practice. The practice in itself is not the source of power. It just provides a framework for the expressing of the power within us. It provides a framework within which the power within us can have some measure of direction in which to go, to follow, right? For us to follow, because we are the expressing of that power. And that I believe wholeheartedly, again, that the practice does not give us power. We bring the power to it, because one can be consistent with a practice. One can be consistent with a ritual, whatever it may be. Um, and yet, if we take too much comfort in that, we can become arrogant. We can become short-sighted, thinking that the practice is the end-all, be-all, but it's not. Um, what really, I believe, gives us power is character. Character. A character that is consistent with the principle that we espouse for ourselves, whatever that principle may be. For me, that principle is oneness, unity, because it entails everything. Just like Brahma, the originating deity, not even really a deity, but Brahma is all in the Hindu system. So the unity is all. It's all. It cannot be defined. It cannot be limited by time and space. It cannot be countered or overcome. It just can't, because it is everything. Everything. And so, and the word that I use to summarize that oneness, that all is creator, right? Creator. One could say, this brother I know from Texas would say originator. I've heard others call it source, others call it God, Lord, But like Paul writes in the New Testament, there are many gods and many lords, right? So which one are you talking about? I mean, in the Hindu system alone, there are 33 million deities, gods and goddesses. So when we say God or Lord, which one are we talking about? But we don't want to get kind of bogged down with debate and with the minutia of things, because then we can become legalistic and formalistic and spiritually dead, like the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Character is really what is the true measure of power. Like there's a verse somewhere in Proverbs, and it says, "Greater is he who can conquer himself than he who can conquer a city." And in another variation of that thought, and I'm sure I'm misquoting it now, but greater is he who can control himself or overcome himself, something like that. Himself being S, small s, right? Our lower nature. Greater is he who can overcome or conquer himself than he who can conquer 10,000 men. It's character, because that is what marks us as being trustworthy with power and authority. So if we bring power to the practice, if that practice is prayer, meditation, rituals, whatever it may be, volunteering, teaching, healing, or facilitating healing for others, with others, if that's going to be our practice, and if we're going to bring power to that practice so that it really is effective, then the way that we attain to power, true power, is character. And that is, control of the self, with an understanding of those parts of ourselves, those shadows, for example, of what they are, what they're capable of, right? So if someone is given over to anger and rage, for example, I mean, obviously it's very destructive, right? It destroys relationships, it destroys peace of mind, it destroys everything. And um, and there's this saying in Buddhism that I really like. I read it anyway, and it says, anger is your way of punishing yourself for someone else's mistake. So in other words, like, one who's given over to anger and rage is a fool, given over to foolishness. You're punishing yourself for someone else's mistake. We get angry at others. We rage out at others, against others, toward others, because we don't like what they say, or we don't like how they approach things. And then we might make excuses. Oh, well, I was angry and I said these things, or I did these things because, it was a bad day, I was in a bad mood, or this happened, that happened. Okay, so not only are you a fool, but now you're a slave to external conditions and circumstances. But the fool doesn't realize that, because we feel, the fool within us, the ego within us, feels self-justified, always justified. It has to justify itself. And when the ego is driving the bus, that bus is going to crash 100%. The ego can be a passenger on the bus of our lives, of our character, but it cannot drive the bus. That we must not allow. So character is making sure that the ego is relegated to a passenger position on the bus, and that it's not driving the bus. Character. Again, right, to be anointed, to be sworn into office, let's say as an assistant to Pharaoh, or the treasurer of the king, or sworn in as president of the United States, or vice president, or any office, religious or political, or any office, business. There's no swearing in ceremony, but there's still a formalism of some kind, right? Meetings and signings of contracts and things like that. And what that means is, whatever the ritual, whatever the swearing in ceremony, what it's saying again is that you are being entrusted with this power. You're being entrusted to serve in this office. Because you are found to be of such a character, hopefully that's why. It's not just nepotism or through corruption, which happens a lot, but that you're found to be of such a character that you can be trusted with the power and authority vested in you by occupying this station, this office. Character. So you're anointed. You're anointed. You can be trusted with that power and authority. You're not going to misuse it, abuse it, hurt others. And that's tough. That's not easy. That's not easy. So the daily cultivation of our daily practice, whatever it may be, is absolutely necessary. What really gives that daily practice power, though, is character. Right? A character, a shining character that can be trusted no matter what, that can be relied upon no matter what. So that's the aim, folks. That's really the aim, or an aim toward another aim, right? But individually, that's the aim, to be of such a character that we are of the oneness, and we're not going to violate that. And that's not easy. And cynical people, especially people that maybe have known us all of our lives, have known us from the past, and may to some measure witness our current path and efforts toward growth and transformation. They can be really cynical. That's why it says that a prophet has no honor in his own country. In other words, his own people will reject him or her because they're just holding you to your past. And they don't see, and they have no desire to see what you're currently cultivating and really aiming for, and they refuse to acknowledge the things that one may have done to inspire others, to build others up, to really have an impact and make a difference that really makes a difference in the lives of others. And if you can really make a difference in one individual's life, like really make a difference, really inspire them, really have an impact on them, where they then set off on their own to really better themselves and to reach higher ground, whatever that may mean for them, man, that life is a success. And if you've done that with two people, whew, man, and if you've done it with three people, then you probably should start charging money. I used to say that as a joke, but no, seriously, it's tremendous. It's tremendous. It really is, because we're adding to life on earth. We're not taking away from. And that's character. Character will have us do that. So, because people can feel if you're real or not, especially the young, the youth, like students, for example, they know. Your own children, they know. My sons are extraordinarily perceptive, scarily so. I've been told by their teachers and by other adults who've been around them. Like, they're not like, they've got it, man, But that has, but to bring that about, that has taken cultivation from their mother, their stepfather, who's a wonderful man, and myself, So, because it's teamwork. It's teamwork. And then we can beget, right? We can keep that river of life flowing, right? So it doesn't start with us, and it ought not to end with us. We should pass it on, pay it forward, right? So that and the way we do that is to live a life that we're such that we leave others feeling empowered, inspired, and more fully self-expressed. I got that from Landmark Forum, in my training there. So I acknowledge the folks at Landmark and my facilitators there, whom I worked with, Gary Bishop, Roger Smith, and Dr. Guy Maytal. And so anyway, daily cultivation, that in itself does not give us power. It allows for a framework and a direction for the expressing of power in us, through us, as us. And what really keeps that channel going and flowing is character. Character, nothing else. I once lived in a spiritual community, in a metaphysical community, where, I had witnessed some, pretty extraordinary things, that would ooh and ah and wow the senses. But I knew within myself that as impressive that may have been, it did not inspire me. Not that the individuals did not, because every individual had their own unique set of strengths and capabilities that really, really meant something. But really what inspires me is character. A character of a loving, thankful nature, full of wisdom and thoughtfulness and integrity and honesty and a willingness to be vulnerable. All that good stuff, all the fruits of the Spirit, as they say. So anyway, I pray that this was a blessing for you as it was for me, and as always, blessings to you and to all that pertains to you. If you ever get a chance, you've ever come across this book, buy it. I have a few copies. I've given 2 copies to my sons, of course. I always buy multiple copies of really impactful books because I give to my sons. And but if you ever come across this book, 365 Tao, and other books about Taoism, they're definitely worth looking into. Completely up to you. Completely up to you. Whatever appeals to you or calls, you know, calls you. But yeah, it's a great little tool, great little resource. And so yeah, thank you so much for spending this time with me here and at Imago Spiritual Learning and Wellness. And until the next time, stay richly blessed. And yeah, thank you. Thank you, as always, for stopping in, whoever you are. And if none, it's okay, because these words go out into the ethers anyway, and I have the witness of the unseen ones, whether they be ancestors or whatever, whoever else, I don't know. But yeah, thank you. Thanks to all, and stay blessed. All right, be well.